Hey guys, welcome back into CIO Insight here on thepulsenetwork.com. I am Tyler Piper. And you know, Eric, we had mentioned that we have a lot of guests lined up for today's show. And of course, it seems like he's becoming a staple almost in this show. We welcome back in Jason Brooks, the director of eWeek Labs. Jason, how have you been?
I've been doing well. How about you?
Very well. So what are we talking? We're talking about Facebook today, right?
Facebook, you know, here's the company that's either the grandest thing there's ever been with moving in on 1 billion users, or the biggest invasion of privacy that's ever taken place in the history of mankind. I don't know if it's quite that dramatic, but yeah, Jason, we're talking about, what was it, the F8 conference, and Facebook introduced a whole range of new capabilities, and I'm really curious to get a little bit of feedback from you in terms of, when you first look at overall what was introduced, what's your take on what Facebook has done, what they've created?
Yeah, Eric, I mean, the way that I look at it is that they're kind of taking what they were already done, and they're just coming up with new ways of surfacing the information that people were sharing, and new ways of sharing additional information. And so both of those things have gotten a lot of people calling foul. But for instance, there's the timeline, right? So everything that you've shared on Facebook, now, soon there will be this new timeline. Your profile will be a timeline, and you will be able to click back to 2008, and say, what did I share in 2008? Now, the things that you'll see when you click back to 2008, you would have been able to click more posts down at the bottom, 50 times to get back that far. But this is going to let you jump right back there. Okay. So some of the people say, this is for stalkers, this is a big privacy violation. I thought that stuff was gone forever. But I don't know, maybe I'm just a glass half full kind of guy. I think if I'm able to jump back to 2008, then I can more easily find stuff that maybe I shared back then that I want to take off. So it's kind of a way of dealing with this huge amount of information that is there on Facebook. But when you make changes to something that's as beloved as Facebook is, a lot of people get uncomfortable with it.
I mean, one of the concerns, or I guess two of the concerns that have come up is, one, in terms of sharing. Facebook, they're championing this frictionless sharing where, you don't really have to even click the like button anymore, or the share. If you're taking part in Spotify music, when you're listening to a particular piece of music, that automatically gets shared. And so there's a question around, is sharing become too easy, or at least not apparent to people that they're actually sharing when they're moving around to other websites that are part of this whole Facebook network? The other one is, and a little more technical question, is around cookies. Now, cookies are, when you go to a website, traditionally a cookie was something that would give you some permanence in terms of that you're at the site, so you wouldn't have to log in again. It would remember you. But now there's a question of, do cookies exist even when you've logged off of Facebook? And it created this whole, this whole brouhaha and consternation in the web the last couple days. I'm just wondering what you think, in terms of put yourself back in the IT community. Is this sort of frictionless sharing a potential invasion of privacy? And what about the role of cookies? Most people don't even know cookies exist on their computers. Should it be more apparent in terms of what's happening on your computer when you go visit a site?
Sure. Yeah, well, on the first piece about the sharing, I saw these stories after F8 where things will be shared without you even knowing about it. You've only clicked on a link and now it's shared automatically. That's pretty concerning. I mean, that's, whoa, wait a minute. If I'm going to share something on Facebook, I better be saying, share. But it turns out the way that it works is, for instance, Yahoo has an app where if you install this Yahoo social sharing app, then every link that you click on Yahoo, you will see on your Facebook page, Jason read this, Jason read that, Jason read that. Now, I installed the app, but when I installed it, there's a drop down where you can choose, who's going to see this stuff, and I chose only me. So I can go back now in my activity stream, and I can see that I read, 5 stories on Yahoo or whatever, but you can choose to not share that stuff with anybody. I mean, you can choose not to install the app. That's an important thing to say too. But I think the thing is that people have a concern that if I just click next, 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 I'm not reading the terms, is stuff happening that I'm not aware of, and that's definitely a concern. And part of the thing with it is that if you're going to go with the argument of many users don't understand this or many users don't understand that, I made this comment. I think it was talking to someone on Google Plus. I mean, if we're going to stipulate that the user doesn't know what's going on, I mean, we're now in botnet and keylogger territory. We got a lot bigger problems than Jason was reading these 5 stories on Yahoo. If we're going to assume that as a user I don't know anything, but I think for IT, it's important that I think there's important lessons here that just as Facebook is trying to deal with a huge amount of information and they're trying to engage the users and make it useful, and we see the ways that people interact with this stuff, the same thing is happening inside of organizations where there's a ton of information and these features are starting to come into enterprise products. And this is kind of a laboratory where we get to look and see how does this play out on this big stage where Facebook has this large amount of users.
That's right.
Now the cookies issue, it's definitely what happened is that some of the cookies allowed Facebook was tracking people to a certain extent who were logged out of Facebook, and they said certain things like their security, they have security reasons for doing that, or other things. And I believe that they went back and rolled back some of what they had been doing with those cookies. I mean, it's true that cookies are everywhere out there on the web, and you have the option of just disabling them or making them so no cookies are stored, but that significantly cuts into the kind of functionality you'll see. I mean, I think the work that Mozilla and other organizations have been doing around do not track lists and things like that, it's in its early stages, but that's where I would watch, as this develops. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely things to sort out around, what cookies are on our machines and what they're doing.
So Tyler, watch your cookies. And plus, now with your timeline, I can go back and see what you did at that frat party in 2008.
I was going to say that's the one thing that stuck in my mind with Jason.
Well, Eric, you were there, right?
I was there, yeah.
Well, that's the one thing Jason said that really just stuck in my mind was, as far as clicking on things and disabling them, how many people actually do that? That's the problem that I'm looking at right now, is that really very few people actually do that.
I'd say Jason's a little more technically proficient than most of us out there, too. And I don't know. I think we need some advice. You talked about how you went in and, the drop-down menu came in. Maybe the next time we have you on, you'll give us those 10 steps to make sure your Facebook experience is what you want and is secure in the way you want it to happen.
Hey, Jason, honestly, great stuff as always. Great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Without a question. Jason Brooks, Director of eWeek Labs. Always love having him on. Now we're going to take a break, guys, but we've got a lot more CIO insight coming up in just a few seconds right here on the Pulse Network.
The Pulse Network. It's social TV.